The phone buzzed at exactly 3:17 a.m., vibrating against the nightstand like an angry wasp. I knew before I even looked at the screen that it was Jennifer. My wife had this talent for timing her emergencies perfectly when I needed rest the most. "Danny, I need you to pick me up," she said, without preamble. No hello, no apology for waking me. Just a demand wrapped in that tone she'd perfected over our 15 years of marriage, the one that suggested I should be grateful for the opportunity to serve. "Where are you?" I asked, already knowing I wouldn't like the answer. "At Rachel's place. My car won't start." Rachel, her best friend who lived conveniently close to Brent Morrison's apartment complex. Brent, my old high school rival who'd somehow transformed from the guy who couldn't make varsity football into the town's most successful real estate agent. Funny how life works. I sat up in bed, running my hand through my hair. The digital clock cast a green glow across our bedroom that Jennifer had been spending less and less time in lately. Rachel's place, huh? That's interesting, considering Rachel posted pictures from her vacation in Florida yesterday. Silence stretched across the line. Then, "Just come get me, Danny. I'll explain later." "Sure thing, sweetheart. I'll bring some snacks, maybe some energy drinks. Long night?" The line went quiet. Not silent, I could hear her breathing, probably calculating her next move. Jennifer was always 3 steps ahead in conversations, a skill that made her an excellent lawyer and an exhausting wife. "Just hurry up," she finally said. I dressed slowly, pulling on jeans and an old t-shirt from my auto repair shop. The mirror reflected a man who looked older than his 42 years, graying temples, lines around the eyes, hands permanently stained with motor oil, despite countless washings. Jennifer used to say those hands were capable of fixing anything. These days, she seemed less impressed. The drive across town gave me time to think. Our small Midwestern community thrived on gossip, and Jennifer's late-night adventures weren't exactly subtle. Mrs. Patterson next door had mentioned seeing Jennifer's car parked overnight at various locations during our last fence line conversation. The woman had the subtlety of a sledgehammer, but her information was usually accurate. Brent's apartment complex sat on the newer side of town, all glass and steel, trying to look sophisticated in a place where the most exotic restaurant was the Chinese buffet. I parked across the street and waited, watching the third-floor windows where I knew Brent lived. Sure enough, one window glowed with soft light, and I could see 2 silhouettes moving around inside. My phone buzzed with a text. "I'm downstairs." I looked down at the building entrance. Empty. No Jennifer in sight. I typed back, "Don't see you. Just wait." Classic Jennifer. Even caught in a lie, she'd double down and make me the problem somehow. I'd learned this dance over the years. The gaslighting, the deflection, the way she could twist any situation until I questioned my own perceptions. But tonight felt different. Maybe it was the accumulation of months of suspicious behavior, or maybe I'd finally reached my limit of being treated like an idiot. Either way, I made a decision that would change everything. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I grabbed my toolbox from the truck bed, old habits from my mechanic days, and walked into the building. The security door had a broken latch that everyone in town knew about. I climbed to the 3rd floor, found Brent's apartment, and got to work. Installing a small motion sensor took less than 5 minutes. Nothing illegal, nothing that would cause harm, just a tiny device that would send alerts to my phone whenever the door opened or closed. Call it professional curiosity. Then I left a gift basket by the door. Nothing threatening, just some snacks, energy drinks, and a note. "For when my wife's done with you, please return her in the condition you found her. Thanks, Danny." I was back in my truck when Jennifer finally appeared, looking flustered and checking her phone constantly. She climbed into the passenger seat without making eye contact. "Car trouble?" I asked pleasantly. Battery's gone. I'll deal with it tomorrow. Want me to take a look? I know a thing or two about cars. She finally looked at me, and I saw something I'd never seen before. Genuine fear. Not guilt, not embarrassment, but actual fear. It was almost flattering. No, it's fine. Just drive. The ride home passed in silence. Jennifer stared out her window while I hummed along to late-night radio. When we pulled into our driveway, she hurried inside without another word. I sat in the truck for a few more minutes, watching our house. It needed work. The porch sagged slightly, the paint was peeling, and the gutters had been loose for 2 years. I'd always planned to fix these things, but Jennifer's demands on my time had increased as her respect for me decreased. Funny how that worked. My phone buzzed with the first motion alert. Someone had found my gift basket. I woke up to 17 text messages, 12 missed calls, and one very angry wife standing over my bed with her phone in her hand. What the hell is this? Jennifer thrust the screen toward my face. I could see a group chat with several of her friends, all discussing something with obvious excitement. Good morning to you too, sweetheart. Coffee? Don't play games with me, Danny. Someone sent anonymous messages to everyone in my book club. Personal stuff. Private conversations. I sat up slowly, stretching like a man without a care in the world. The motion sensor had triggered 6 times between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. Busy night at Brent's place. That's terrible. What kind of personal stuff? Jennifer's face flushed red. You know exactly what kind. This has your fingerprints all over it. My fingerprints? Jennifer, I can barely figure out how to update my phone. You think I'm some kind of hacker now? She paced around the bedroom, her lawyer brain working overtime. The timing is too convenient, right after last night. What about last night? You had car trouble at Rachel's place, remember? Speaking of which, did you know Rachel posted vacation photos from Miami yesterday? Weird that she's in 2 places at once. Jennifer stopped pacing. The fear was back in her eyes, stronger now. I don't know what you're trying to prove, but I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm just observing that someone in your book club apparently had some very interesting conversations about their personal lives. Affairs, financial problems, that sort of thing. Must be embarrassing to have all that aired out. My phone buzzed. Another message from the group chat Jennifer had accidentally added me to months ago. A mistake she'd never corrected because she assumed I never read it. The messages were flowing fast now, with her friends turning on each other as their secrets spilled out. You did this somehow, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. Jennifer, I spent yesterday afternoon replacing Mrs. Henderson's transmission. Got home at 6, made dinner, watched the game. You can check with her if you want. What I didn't mention was that I'd spent the previous week setting up a simple but effective plan. See, Jennifer and her friends had a habit of forwarding each other's private messages, screenshotting conversations, and generally treating each other's secrets like trading cards. All I'd done was create a few fake social media accounts and friend them all, then sit back and let their own paranoia and betrayal instincts do the work. The beauty of it was that every explosive message they were seeing had actually been sent by one of them at some point. I just redistributed the content to different recipients. Jennifer's complaint about our finances went to the friend who'd been bragging about her husband's promotion. Rachel's confession about her affair went to the most judgmental member of the group, and so on. This is going to ruin my reputation, Jennifer said, finally sitting down on the bed. I'm sure it'll blow over. Small-town drama always does. She looked at me with something approaching respect for the first time in months. You're enjoying this. I'm enjoying my coffee. Would you like some? My phone rang. Nate from the boxing gym where I spent most of my free time these days. Jennifer had always hated that I boxed, said it was juvenile for a man my age, but Nate's gym was one of the few places in town where I could think clearly. Danny, you need to get down here, Nate said. We got problems. What kind of problems? The kind that involves your wife's boyfriend and a very public temper tantrum. He's here looking for you. I looked at Jennifer, who was still staring at her phone in horror as more messages flooded in. "I'll be right there." "Where are you going?" she asked. "Gym. Apparently I have a visitor." "Danny, whatever you're planning—" "I'm not planning anything, Jennifer. I'm just living my life. You should try it sometime." I dressed quickly and headed for the door, but paused in the doorway. "Oh, and Jennifer? Next time you need a ride from Rachel's place, maybe call an Uber. I hear they don't ask inconvenient questions." The drive to Nate's gym took me through the heart of our small town. Main Street looked the same as always, local businesses struggling to compete with the big box stores on the highway, old-timers gathered outside the coffee shop to solve the world's problems, teenagers loitering by the school despite it being summer break. This place had been my whole world for most of my life. I'd grown up here, married my high school sweetheart here, built a business here. Jennifer had always talked about leaving, finding somewhere more sophisticated, but I'd never understood the appeal of starting over somewhere else. Now, watching the familiar sights roll by, I wondered if she'd been right all along. Maybe some places were too small to contain the person you wanted to become. Nate's gym occupied an old warehouse on the industrial side of town. The building had character, exposed brick walls, high ceilings, and the permanent smell of sweat and determination. It wasn't fancy, but it was real in a way that most things in my life weren't anymore. I found Brent Morrison pacing outside the entrance, still wearing the expensive suit he probably slept in. He looked like a man who'd had very little rest and even less coffee. "Danny," he called out as I parked. "We need to talk." "Sure thing, Brent. Beautiful morning, isn't it?" He followed me into the gym, where Nate was pretending to organize equipment while obviously eavesdropping. A few other regulars were working out, but they all found reasons to stay within hearing distance. "You left something at my apartment last night," Brent said. "Did I? That's strange. I don't remember being at your apartment." "Cut the act. The gift basket. Very funny." I started wrapping my hands, a ritual that always helped me think clearly. Gift basket? That doesn't sound like me. I'm not really the gift basket type. "Listen, Danny, I know this looks bad, but you don't understand the situation." "What situation is that?" Brent glanced around at our audience, then lowered his voice. "Jennifer and I, we're just friends. She's been having problems at home, needed someone to talk to." "Problems at home? That's news to me. What kind of problems?" "She says you've been distant, angry all the time. She's scared, Danny." I finished wrapping my hands and turned to face him fully. Brent was taller than me by a few inches, but he had the soft look of a man who'd never done physical labor. His manicured hands and perfect hair suggested someone who spent more time in front of mirrors than most people. "Scared of what, exactly?" "Your temper. The way you've been acting lately." "How have I been acting lately, Brent?" He shifted uncomfortably. "Suspicious, paranoid, following her around." "Following her around? That's interesting. When did I do that?" "She told me about the questions, the checking up on her. It's not healthy, Danny." I walked over to the heavy bag and threw a few light jabs, feeling the satisfying impact up my arm. "Brent, let me ask you something. If your wife was coming home at 3 a.m. claiming car trouble, wouldn't you be curious?" "That's different." "How?" "I trust my wife." "Your wife who's currently having her private messages shared with half the town?" Brent's face went pale. "What are you talking about?" "Check your phone. Apparently someone's been very busy this morning spreading gossip. Terrible thing, the way secrets get out in a small town." He pulled out his phone and started scrolling, his expression growing more horrified by the second. I continued working the bag, enjoying the rhythm of my punches and the sound of leather on leather. "This is insane," he muttered. Who would? "Probably someone who got tired of being lied to," I said. "Just a guess." Brent looked up from his phone, and I saw the exact moment he realized I wasn't the same pushover he remembered from high school. "You did this." "I fixed Mrs. Henderson's transmission yesterday. Got witnesses and everything." "Not that. This morning. The messages. Brent, I barely understand how to send a text message. Ask anyone. It was true, technically. I'd never sent any messages that morning. I'd just redistributed ones that already existed, and I'd done all the setup work days ago, but Brent didn't need to know those details. You're lying. Prove it. He stared at me for a long moment, probably trying to decide if he wanted to push the issue. The old Danny would have backed down, apologized, maybe even believed that I was somehow in the wrong. But something had changed during that 3 a.m. phone call. I'd stopped caring about being the nice guy. This isn't over, Brent finally said. No, I don't think it is. He stormed out, leaving me alone with Nate and the other gym regulars. The silence stretched for a few seconds before Nate started laughing. Damn, Danny, I haven't seen you like this since high school. Like what? Like you remember who you used to be. I unwrapped my hand slowly, thinking about that. Who had I used to be? Before Jennifer's constant criticism wore me down, before I started apologizing for taking up space, before I became the kind of man who got 3 a.m. pickup calls without question. Nate, can I ask you something? Shoot. How long have people been talking about Jennifer and Brent? He hesitated, the way people do when they're about to deliver bad news. Danny, just tell me. Couple months, maybe more. I didn't want to say anything because, sometimes rumors are just rumors. But not this time. No, not this time. I nodded, feeling strangely calm. The uncertainty had been worse than the truth. At least now I knew where I stood. Thanks for being straight with me. What are you going to do? I looked around the gym, at the punching bags and weight equipment, at the motivational posters on the walls, at the men who came here to push themselves harder than they thought possible. I'm going to work out. Then I'm going to go home and see what other surprises the day has in store. I came home to find my 18-year-old daughter, Emma, sitting at the kitchen table with her phone propped up, live streaming to her TikTok followers. She'd inherited Jennifer's dramatic flair and my stubborn streak, a combination that had made her teenage years particularly challenging. And he's totally losing it, she was saying to her phone. My mom comes home last night and he's being all weird and suspicious. It's honestly embarrassing. I stood in the doorway, wondering when my own daughter had become a stranger. Emma had always been closer to Jennifer, but lately she seemed to view me as some kind of inconvenience that came with the house. Hey, Emma. She looked up, startled, then quickly ended her stream. Oh, hi, Dad. Talking about me online? It's not like that. My followers like family drama content. Family drama content. I repeated the words slowly. That's what we are to you now? Content? She rolled her eyes in that way teenagers have perfected. Don't be so dramatic. Everyone shares their life online. Everyone shares their version of their life online. There's a difference. I sat down across from her, noting how she immediately became defensive. When had we stopped being able to have normal conversations? Mom says you've been acting really strange lately, Emma said. Strange how? Paranoid, angry. She thinks you might need to talk to someone. Someone like a therapist? Yeah. There's no shame in getting help, Dad. I almost laughed. Here was my daughter, who'd never held a job or paid a bill, giving me mental health advice based on her mother's interpretation of events. Emma, can I ask you something? And I want you to really think about your answer. Okay. When's the last time you and I did something together? Just us? She shifted uncomfortably. I don't know. I've been busy with school and work and... You graduated 2 months ago and you don't have a job. I'm taking a gap year to figure things out. Right. So when's the last time we hung out? Emma stared at her phone instead of answering. The silence stretched between us like a canyon I didn't know how to cross. I remember when you used to help me in the garage, I said finally. You were maybe 10 years old, and you'd hand me tools and ask a million questions about how engines worked. I was a kid then. Yeah, you were. And I was your dad. What am I now? She looked up at me with Jennifer's eyes, calculating, defensive, ready to deflect. You're being weird again. Weird because I want to have a conversation with my daughter? Weird because you're making everything about you. Mom's going through stuff, and instead of being supportive, you're acting like she's the enemy. What kind of stuff is she going through? Emma hesitated, and I could see her trying to decide how much to reveal. Work stress, marriage problems. She feels like you don't trust her anymore. Should I trust her? She's your wife, Dad. Of course you should trust her. The certainty in her voice made me sad. Emma still believed in the fairy tale version of marriage, where love conquered all and trust was automatic. I envied that innocence, even as I realized it was partly my fault for protecting her from the messier realities of adult relationships. Emma, hypothetically, if you found out your spouse was lying to you about where they were spending their time, what would you do? I'd talk to them about it. And if they kept lying, then I'd figure out what I was doing wrong to make them feel like they couldn't be honest with me. There it was, Jennifer's influence in full display. Every problem was somehow my fault, every conflict traced back to my failures as a husband and father. I wondered how long Emma had been absorbing these messages. What if you weren't doing anything wrong? What if they were just choosing to lie? Emma's phone buzzed with notifications, and I watched her attention immediately shift to the screen. The conversation was over before I'd gotten any real answers. I need to respond to comments, she said, already scrolling. From your family drama content? Dad, don't make this into a thing. What kind of comments are you getting? She hesitated again, and I saw a flicker of uncertainty cross her face. Just the usual stuff. People relating to the situation. Can I see? It's not important. I reached across the table and gently turned her phone so I could see the screen. The comments were brutal, dozens of strangers weighing in on our family situation based on Emma's one-sided narrative. Most were supportive of her and Jennifer, but several were more disturbing. Older men get controlling when they feel threatened, one read. Your mom needs to be careful. Classic midlife crisis behavior, said another. He's probably cheating and projecting it onto her. These people don't know me, I said. They know what I tell them. And what do you tell them, Emma? She took her phone back, defensive again. The truth. That you've been acting paranoid and making Mom miserable. The truth according to who? According to me. I live here too, Dad. I see how you treat her. How do I treat her? Like she's a criminal or something, always asking where she's been, who she was with. It's not normal. I leaned back in my chair, feeling the weight of months of careful manipulation. Jennifer had been building her case slowly, turning Emma against me one conversation at a time. Every reasonable question I'd asked had been reframed as paranoia. Every moment of frustration had become evidence of my instability. Emma, what would you say if I told you your mother has been lying about where she spends her evenings? I'd say you're being paranoid again. Even if I had proof? What kind of proof? I pulled out my phone and showed her the motion sensor alerts from Brent's apartment. 17 triggers since last night, including several during times when Jennifer was supposedly at work or running errands. What is this? Emma asked. A motion sensor. Every time someone goes in or out of Brent Morrison's apartment, I get an alert. Emma stared at the screen, her expression shifting from confusion to understanding to anger. You're spying on Mom? I'm documenting her lies. That's the same thing. No, it's not. Spying would be following her around or listening to her phone calls. This is just confirming what I already suspected. Emma stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. This is insane, Dad. You can't just put surveillance equipment on people. I put it on Brent's door, not your mother, and it's not illegal. It's creepy and weird and effective. Look at the timestamps, Emma. Your mother was there until 4 a.m. last night, then again from noon to 3 today while she was supposedly at the office. Emma looked at the phone again, and I watched her teenage certainty crumble. She wanted to dismiss the evidence, but the data was too clear to ignore. Maybe she was just talking to him about the marriage problems. For 5 hours at a time? People need support during difficult periods. From their husband's high school rival? Emma sat back down, her bravado fading. For the first time in months, she looked like my little girl again instead of Jennifer's miniature attorney. Dad, what are you going to do? I don't know yet. Are you going to divorce her? The question hung in the air between us. I'd been avoiding thinking about it directly, but Emma's bluntness forced me to confront the possibility. Would that bother you? Of course it would bother me. You're my parents. Even if staying together means living with lies? Emma's phone buzzed again, but this time she ignored it. I don't want our family to break up. Our family broke up the moment your mother decided Brent Morrison was more interesting than her husband. You don't know that's what happened. I showed her the phone again. What else could it be? She stared at the screen for a long moment, then pushed the phone away. I don't want to know. Emma, no, Dad. I don't want to know. Can't you just fix it somehow? Talk to her or go to counseling or something? The desperation in her voice broke my heart. Emma was 18 years old, legally an adult, but still young enough to believe that love could overcome any obstacle if you just tried hard enough. Some things can't be fixed, sweetheart. But you haven't even tried. I've been trying for months. Every time I ask a question, I'm paranoid. Every time I express concern, I'm controlling. Your mother has made it very clear that my feelings don't matter. Emma's phone buzzed again, and this time the notification made her face go pale. What is it? I asked. Someone shared my video about our family situation. Shared it where? Facebook, the town community page. I felt a chill run through me. Emma's TikTok followers were mostly teenagers from other places, but the town Facebook page was where local gossip went to spread like wildfire. How many people have seen it? Emma scrolled through her notifications, her face getting paler by the second. A lot, and they're not all being nice. She handed me the phone, and I read through the comments with growing dismay. Our neighbors, people I'd known for years, were dissecting our marriage based on a teenager's social media rant. Some defended me, others sided with Jennifer, but everyone had an opinion. I didn't think it would spread like this, Emma said quietly. The internet doesn't stay contained, Emma. Everything you post is permanent. I can delete it. Too late. People have already shared it. Emma buried her face in her hands. Mom's going to freak out. Yeah, she probably is. What do I do? I looked at my daughter, really looked at her, and saw a young woman who'd made a mistake and was genuinely sorry about it. Maybe there was hope for us after all. You learn from it, I said. And next time you want to talk about family problems, you talk to family instead of strangers. I'm sorry, Dad. I know you are. My phone rang, Jennifer calling from work. I let it go to voicemail, then listened to the message on speaker. Danny, I just saw Emma's video online. We need to talk. Now. Emma looked at me with wide eyes. She sounds really angry. She has a right to be. This affects her reputation too. Are you going to tell her about the motion sensor? I thought about it for a moment. The smart play would be to keep that information to myself, use it strategically when the time was right. But looking at Emma's worried face, I realized I was tired of playing games. Yeah, I think I am. What do you think she'll say? I think she'll try to make it my fault somehow. She's gotten very good at that. Emma's phone buzzed with another notification, and she glanced at it nervously. Dad, some of these comments are getting really mean, about all of us. Welcome to small-town life, sweetheart. Everyone's an expert on everyone else's business. I really messed up, didn't I? You made a mistake. The question is, what you're going to do about it. Emma looked at her phone again, then at me. I could post another video, explaining that I was upset and didn't mean for it to spread. Or you could stop posting videos about our family entirely. But my followers expect content. Your followers will find other content. Your family is irreplaceable. She nodded slowly, and I saw a glimmer of the mature young woman she was becoming. You're right. I'll delete the accounts. You don't have to delete them. Just think before you post. Ask yourself if you'd want strangers discussing your private business. Okay? My phone rang again. Jennifer, more insistent this time. I answered on the third ring. We need to talk, she said without preamble. I'm listening. Not over the phone. Come to my office. I'm busy right now. Danny, this is serious. Emma's video has been shared over 200 times. My boss has seen it. My clients are asking questions. Maybe you should have thought about that before you started spending your afternoons at Brent's apartment. The line went quiet. I could hear Jennifer's breathing, could almost see her calculating her next move. What are you talking about? She finally said. I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. Danny, you're scaring me. This paranoid behavior. 17 times, Jennifer. What? 17 times since last night. That's how often someone has gone in or out of Brent's apartment. Interesting coincidence, don't you think? Another silence, longer this time. When Jennifer spoke again, her voice was different, harder, more calculating. How do you know that? Does it matter? Are you following me? I don't need to follow you. You're not as sneaky as you think you are. Danny, I think you need help, professional help. Maybe, but first, I think we need to have that conversation you mentioned, face to face. Fine, my office, 1 hour. No, our house, our marriage, our house. I can't leave work right now. Then I guess the conversation will have to wait. I hung up before she could respond. Emma was staring at me with a mixture of admiration and fear. Dad, are you sure about this? No, but I'm sure about what happens if I keep pretending everything is normal. What's that? I disappear completely, and I'm not ready to do that yet. Jennifer came home at exactly 6:30 p.m., her usual time when she wasn't making detours to Brent's apartment. I was in the garage working on Mrs. Henderson's pickup truck, a therapeutic activity that kept my hands busy while my mind processed the day's events. Danny, we need to talk, she called from the doorway. Almost finished here. Give me 5 minutes. Now, Danny. I set down my wrench and looked at her. Jennifer stood silhouetted in the doorway, still wearing her lawyer uniform, sharp blazer, perfect hair, expression that suggested she'd already won whatever argument we were about to have. Okay, let's talk. She led me into the house where Emma was conspicuously absent. Smart girl. She'd probably retreated to her room to avoid the fallout from her social media mistake. Sit down, Jennifer said, gesturing to the living room couch. I'd rather stand. This isn't a negotiation, Danny. Sit down. I remained standing, leaning against the doorframe with my arms crossed. Jennifer's jaw tightened. She hated when I didn't follow her directions. Fine. We'll do this the hard way. She pulled out her phone and opened what looked like a notes app. I've been documenting your behavior for the past 3 months. The paranoid questions, the mood swings, the accusations. Documenting. That's a very lawyerly word. Someone needs to be objective about this situation. And that someone is you? I'm trying to save our marriage, Danny, but I can't do it alone. I almost laughed. Save our marriage? Is that what you call spending 5 hours at Brent Morrison's apartment? Jennifer's composure slipped for just a moment, a tiny crack in her professional facade. I don't know what you think you saw. I didn't see anything. I have data. Data? I pulled out my phone and showed her the motion sensor alerts. 17 triggers since yesterday. Every time someone enters or exits Brent's apartment, I get a notification. Jennifer stared at the screen, her face cycling through emotions. Surprise, anger, calculation, and finally, something that looked almost like respect. You put surveillance equipment on his apartment? On his door, perfectly legal. It's stalking, Danny. It's confirmation. There's a difference. She handed my phone back and sat down heavily on the couch. For the first time in months, Jennifer looked genuinely tired instead of just frustrated. How long have you known? She asked. Known what, specifically? Don't make me say it. I think you should say it. For clarity. Jennifer looked up at me with something approaching hatred. Fine. How long have you known about Brent and me? Suspected? Couple months? Known for certain? Since last night when you called for a pickup from Rachel's place while Rachel was in Florida. It's not what you think. What do I think, Jennifer? That we're having an affair. Are you? She hesitated just long enough to make the answer irrelevant. It's complicated. Most things are. Explain it to me. Jennifer stood up and started pacing, her courtroom habit when she needed time to construct an argument. Our marriage has been struggling for years, Danny. We both know it. We've grown apart, become different people. Different how? You've become complacent, satisfied with mediocrity. I need more than this small-town life can offer. And Brent offers more? Brent understands ambition. He's building something, creating opportunities. He sees potential. In you or in himself? Both. I nodded slowly, finally understanding the full scope of what I was dealing with. This wasn't just about romance or physical attraction. It was about Jennifer's fundamental dissatisfaction with the life we'd built together. So what's the plan? You leave me for Brent and move to the big city? I don't know. Maybe. We haven't made any decisions. But you've discussed it. We've talked about possibilities. While I'm at home wondering why my wife doesn't want to spend time with me anymore. Jennifer stopped pacing and faced me directly. Danny, be honest. When's the last time you were excited about anything? When's the last time you had a dream or a goal or any kind of ambition? I have ambitions. Like what? Like fixing up this house, growing my business, being a good father and husband. Those aren't ambitions, they're maintenance activities. Her words stung because they contained a grain of truth. I had become comfortable with routine, satisfied with stability in a way that clearly frustrated her. What's wrong with maintenance? Someone has to keep things running while you chase your dreams. Nothing's wrong with it. But it's not enough for me anymore. And Brent is enough? Brent is possibility, your certainty. I used to think certainty was a good thing in a marriage. Jennifer sat back down, and I could see her shifting into lawyer mode, preparing to present her case for why this was all somehow reasonable. Danny, I care about you. I always will, but I can't pretend to be happy in a life that feels too small for me. So you decided to audition for a bigger life behind my back? I was trying to figure things out without hurting you unnecessarily. How's that working out? She gestured toward my phone. You tell me. You're the one with the surveillance equipment. I'm the one who got tired of being lied to. I never lied to you. You told me you were at Rachel's place last night. Rachel was in Florida. I was at a friend's place. I never specified which friend. That's lawyer logic, Jennifer. Technically true, but actually false. She shrugged, and I realized we'd reached the heart of the problem. Jennifer had convinced herself that her behavior was justified, that her unhappiness gave her the right to explore other options without considering how it affected me or Emma. What do you want from me? I asked. I want you to understand that this isn't about hurting you. It's about me finding out who I'm supposed to be. And you can't figure that out while married to me? Apparently not. The honesty was brutal, but somehow refreshing. After months of gaslighting and deflection, Jennifer was finally being direct about her intentions. So what happens now? I asked. I don't know. We could try counseling. Would you stop seeing Brent during counseling? I don't think that's a reasonable request. I don't think continuing an affair during marriage counseling is reasonable either. Jennifer's phone buzzed, and she glanced at it automatically. I saw her face soften slightly as she read whatever message had come through. Let me guess. Brent, checking in. He's concerned about how this conversation is going. He's concerned. He's not part of this marriage, Jennifer. He cares about my well-being. So do I. That's why I married you instead of just having an affair with you. Jennifer looked up from her phone with genuine surprise. When did you become so sarcastic? About the time I realized my wife was treating me like an idiot. I never... You absolutely did. The lies, the deflection, the gaslighting. Did you really think I wouldn't notice? I thought you'd be too comfortable to rock the boat. Well, congratulations. The boat is officially rocked. Jennifer's phone buzzed again, and again she checked it immediately. I watched this woman I'd been married to for 15 years prioritize text messages over our conversation and felt something fundamental shift inside me. You know what, Jennifer? I think you're right. About what? About us growing apart, about becoming different people, about this marriage not working anymore. She looked up from her phone, suddenly focused. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe it's time to stop pretending we can fix this. You want a divorce? I want honesty. If you'd rather be with Brent, then be with Brent, but stop trying to have both relationships simultaneously. Jennifer set her phone down. The first time all evening she'd given me her full attention. Danny, I don't want to hurt you. Too late for that. I mean, I don't want to destroy your life. My life isn't that fragile, Jennifer. I was a complete person before I married you, and I'll be a complete person after we divorce. What about Emma? Emma will adjust. Kids are more resilient than we give them credit for. What about the house? Your business? The practical stuff? We'll figure it out. We're both adults. Jennifer picked up her phone again but didn't check it this time. She just held it like a security blanket. I never expected you to be so calm about this, she said. I'm not calm. I'm tired. There's a difference. Tired of what? Tired of fighting for someone who doesn't want to be fought for. Tired of being treated like an obstacle to your happiness instead of a partner in it. Danny, it's okay, Jennifer. Really. You want something different, and that's your right. But you don't get to keep me as a backup plan while you explore your options. Her phone buzzed again, and this time she ignored it completely. What if I ended things with Brent? What if we tried to work on us? Could you do that? Actually end it? Not just pause it while we go through the motions of counseling? Jennifer hesitated, and her hesitation was answer enough. I didn't think so, I said. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. You either want to be married to me or you don't. Everything else is just details. Jennifer stood up and walked to the window, looking out at our neighborhood, the place that had apparently become too small for her dreams. I do love you, Danny. Just not the way I used to. I know, and that's okay. Love changes, people change. The problem is when people change in different directions. So what happens now? Now you go be with Brent, and I figure out what comes next for me. Just like that? Just like that. Jennifer turned back to face me, and I saw tears in her eyes for the first time all evening. I'm sorry it ended up like this. Me too. She picked up her purse and headed for the door, then paused. Danny? For what it's worth, you're a good man. You deserve someone who appreciates that. Thanks. You deserve someone who makes you happy. I hope Brent is that person. After she left, I sat alone in our living room, my living room now, I supposed, and tried to process what had just happened. 15 years of marriage ended with a conversation that lasted less than an hour. Emma appeared in the doorway, looking uncertain. Is she coming back? She asked. Not tonight. Maybe not at all. Emma sat down next to me on the couch. Are you okay? I think so. Are you? I don't know. This is all happening so fast. Sometimes fast is better than slow and painful. Do you hate her? I thought about it seriously. No, I'm disappointed and hurt, but I don't hate her. She wants something I can't give her, and that's not really anyone's fault. What about Brent? Brent's a different story. Emma looked at me curiously. What do you mean? Your mother was unhappy in our marriage. That's legitimate, even if I don't like how she handled it. But Brent knew she was married, knew we had a family, and decided to pursue her anyway. That makes him fair game. Fair game for what? I smiled for the first time all day. I haven't decided yet, but I'm sure I'll think of something. 3 days later, I was installing a new transmission in Jake Miller's Chevy when Nate showed up at the garage with coffee and news. You hear about Brent's little problem? He asked, settling onto a stack of tires. What kind of problem? Seems someone reported him to the State Real Estate Commission for some creative accounting practices. I slid out from under the Chevy and wiped my hands on a rag. That's terrible. What kind of creative accounting? The kind where client deposits disappear into personal accounts before deals close. The kind that gets your license suspended pending investigation. Huh. Any idea who reported him? Nate grinned. Anonymous tip. Very thorough documentation, though. Bank records, email screenshots, the works. I'd spent the previous evening going through Brent's social media posts and business website, cross-referencing his claimed sales with public property records. Amazing what you could learn with a little patience and basic research skills. Even more amazing what real estate clients would tell you when you called pretending to be from the state licensing board following up on complaints. That's unfortunate timing, I said, right when he's trying to impress someone special. Yeah, about that. Word is, Jennifer's been staying at the Holiday Inn since your conversation. Separate rooms, though. Guess even she has some standards. Good for her. You don't sound bitter. I'm not. Jennifer made her choice, and now she gets to live with the consequences. What about Brent? Brent gets to live with different consequences. Nate laughed. I was wondering when you'd stop being the nice guy about this situation. Being nice got me a cheating wife and a daughter who broadcasts our family problems to strangers. Maybe it's time to try a different approach. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma. Dad, can you pick me up from school? Something happened. I showed Nate the message. Rain check on the coffee? Go. But Danny, whatever you're planning for Brent, don't do anything that'll land you in trouble. I'm not planning anything illegal. That's not what I'm worried about. The drive to the high school gave me time to think about Nate's warning. He was right to be concerned. I could feel something changing inside me, a hardness that hadn't been there before. The old Danny would have absorbed Jennifer's betrayal quietly, maybe gotten depressed, definitely blamed himself. This new version was more interested in making sure everyone involved faced appropriate consequences for their choices. I found Emma waiting by the main entrance, looking upset but not injured. She climbed into the truck without her usual commentary about its age and condition. What happened? I asked. Some kids were talking about Mom and Brent, saying things. What kind of things? Mean things. About our family. About you. I felt that new hardness crystallize into something sharper. What did they say specifically? That you're pathetic for letting Mom cheat on you, that she's obviously too good for you, that Brent's an upgrade. And what did you say? Emma looked at me with surprise. Nothing. I just left. Why? Because I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to defend you, but part of me thought maybe they were right. Her honesty stung, but I appreciated it more than false comfort. Do you think I'm pathetic, Emma? I don't know. You didn't fight for her. You just let her go. What should I have done? Begged her to stay married to someone she doesn't love? Maybe. Or maybe you should have tried harder before it got to that point. You think this is my fault? Emma was quiet for a long moment. I think you gave up too easy. On Mom, on us, on everything. We drove in silence for several blocks while I processed her words. Emma was right about one thing: I had given up easily. But not on Jennifer or our marriage. I'd given up on pretending that being the nice guy was getting me anywhere. Emma, what would you say if I told you I wasn't done fighting? What do you mean? I mean, what if I decided to stop being so understanding about this whole situation? I'd say it's about time. I pulled into a parking spot outside the ice cream shop, where Emma used to beg me to take her when she was little. Want to get some ice cream and talk about this properly? Okay. We ordered our usual flavors: chocolate chip for her, vanilla for me, and sat at a corner table where we could talk privately. Emma, I need you to understand something about what happened with your mother. What? I didn't give up on our marriage. I gave up on trying to save someone who didn't want to be saved. But maybe if you'd been more romantic, or paid more attention to her, or… Emma, your mother was having an affair. That's not something that happens because the other spouse isn't romantic enough. But, no buts. Adults are responsible for their own choices. Your mother chose to lie to me, chose to sneak around with Brent, chose to make me feel crazy for asking reasonable questions. Those were her decisions, not mine. Emma stirred her ice cream thoughtfully. So what are you going to do about it? What do you think I should do? I think you should make them sorry they messed with our family. The viciousness in her voice surprised me. Emma had always been Jennifer's ally, but apparently watching her parents' marriage implode had shifted her perspective. What did you have in mind? I don't know. Something public. Something that shows everyone they're not as perfect as they pretend to be. That's an interesting idea. You have that look, Dad. What look? The same look you get when you're figuring out how to fix a complicated engine problem. I smiled. Emma knew me better than I'd realized. There might be an opportunity coming up, I said. What kind of opportunity? The Founders' Day festival next weekend. Brent's supposed to give a speech about economic development. Your mother's law firm is sponsoring the main stage. And it would be a shame if something happened to disrupt their big moment. Emma's eyes lit up with anticipation. What are you thinking? I'm thinking it's time people knew the truth about what kind of man Brent Morrison really is. The real estate thing? That's just the beginning. I've been doing some research into Mr. Morrison's business practices. Very interesting reading. Like what? I pulled out my phone and showed her a folder of screenshots and documents I'd been collecting. Like the fact that he's been inflating property values on loan applications and backdating contracts to manipulate closing dates and charging clients for services that were never provided. Emma scrolled through the evidence with growing amazement. Dad, this is huge. How did you find all this? Amazing what people will tell you when you call pretending to be from various official agencies. Plus, Brent's not as smart as he thinks he is. He keeps detailed records of everything, including the questionable stuff. Are you going to turn him in? Already did, but bureaucracy moves slowly. The Founders' Day festival is this weekend. So what's the plan? I looked at my daughter, really looked at her, and saw someone who was ready to stop being a victim of other people's choices. The plan is to give the people of this town something to really talk about. I want to help. Emma, this could get messy. If you're involved and something goes wrong. Dad, they hurt our family. They made me look stupid online defending Mom while she was lying to all of us. I want them to pay for that. The anger in her voice was real and justified. Emma had been collateral damage in Jennifer and Brent's selfish choices, and she deserved the chance to reclaim some power in the situation. Okay. But we do this smart, and we do it legal. No matter how angry we get, we don't cross lines that can't be uncrossed. Agreed. And Emma? After this weekend, we're done with revenge. We focus on building something better instead of tearing down what they built. Deal. We shook hands across the table like business partners, and I felt something shift between us. For the first time in months, Emma and I were on the same team again. So what do you need me to do? She asked. Social media. Your generation understands how to make things go viral. I need Brent's business problems to become public knowledge at exactly the right moment. I can do that. And Emma? This stays between us until it's over. Your mother doesn't need to know what's coming. Where is Mom anyway? Hotel, as far as I know. She's giving me space to process our separation. Are you processing it? I'm processing something. Emma grinned, the first genuine smile I'd seen from her in weeks. Dad? Yeah? I'm proud of you for finally fighting back. Thanks, sweetheart. I'm proud of you for choosing sides. I should have chosen your side from the beginning. You were protecting yourself. That's what smart people do in messy situations. Well, now I'm ready to stop being smart and start getting even. I laughed, recognizing my own stubborn streak reflected in her determination. In that case, we'd better get to work. We've got a festival to plan for. As we left the ice cream shop, I felt lighter than I had in months. Not because I was planning revenge, though I'd be lying if I said I wasn't looking forward to it, but because Emma and I were finally working together instead of around each other. Jennifer had made her choice when she decided Brent offered more than our family could provide. Now she was going to learn what it felt like to lose something valuable while chasing something shiny. And Brent was going to discover that small-town nice guys weren't always as harmless as they appeared. The Founders' Day festival was going to be very interesting indeed. Saturday morning dawned clear and warm, perfect weather for the annual Founders' Day festival that brought the whole town together in the main square. I'd been awake since 5 a.m., making final preparations for what Emma had started calling Operation Payback. The plan was elegantly simple. Brent was scheduled to speak at 2 p.m. about economic development and opportunity. Jennifer's law firm had paid for premium sponsorship, which meant their banner would be prominently displayed behind the main stage. By the time Brent stepped up to the microphone, everyone in town would know exactly what kind of opportunities he'd been creating. Emma had done her part perfectly. Over the past week, she'd created anonymous social media accounts and begun seeding information about Brent's business practices across local Facebook groups, neighborhood apps, and community forums. Nothing that could be traced back to us, but enough to get people asking questions. Dad, you need to see this, Emma called from the kitchen, where she was monitoring social media responses on her laptop. I joined her at the table, coffee mug in hand. The screen showed the main town Facebook page, where a heated discussion was developing about Brent's real estate dealings. Mrs. Patterson started it, Emma explained. She posted asking if anyone else had problems with Morrison Realty. Look at the responses. I scrolled through dozens of comments from people sharing their experiences. Delayed closings, missing deposits, inflated appraisals, hidden fees, a pattern of questionable practices that painted a clear picture of systematic misconduct. How many people are we talking about? At least 30 so far, and more keep commenting. Dad, I think half the town has a Brent Morrison horror story. But they never talked about it publicly before. Because nobody wanted to be the first one to complain. Now that Mrs. Patterson opened the floodgates, everyone feels safe sharing their experiences. I felt a surge of satisfaction. This was better than anything I could have orchestrated myself, genuine community outrage based on real experiences, not manufactured drama. What about the state investigation? Emma clicked over to another tab. The Real Estate Commission confirmed they're reviewing his license. It's not public yet, but I have a contact at the newspaper who might be interested in the story. Contact? Jessica Chen from my graduating class. She's working as a reporter now, trying to build her portfolio. I might have mentioned that there's a big story developing about local real estate fraud. Emma. I didn't give her specifics, just suggested she might want to attend Brent's speech today with some prepared questions. I had to admire my daughter's strategic thinking. She'd inherited Jennifer's tactical mind, but was using it for our benefit instead of against me. What time does the festival start? 11, but we should get there early to see how people are reacting to the Facebook discussion. I checked my phone and saw 17 missed calls from Jennifer, plus a string of increasingly frantic text messages. Apparently, she'd seen the social media storm developing around her boyfriend. "Your mother's been trying to reach me," I told Emma. "Are you going to call her back?" "Eventually. Let her worry for a while." "Dad, that's kind of cruel. Is it crueler than having an affair and then gaslighting your husband when he asks questions about it?" Emma considered this. "No, I guess not." We spent the next hour finalizing our plans. Emma would work the crowd, making sure people were aware of the Facebook discussion and encouraging them to ask Brent pointed questions during his speech. I would position myself near the stage to document whatever happened next. "Remember," I told Emma as we prepared to leave, "we're not creating lies or spreading false information. We're just making sure people have access to true information they didn't have before." "Got it. We're facilitating informed community discussion." "Exactly." The festival was already bustling when we arrived at the town square. Local vendors had set up booths selling crafts and food, a small carnival occupied one corner, and families were spreading blankets on the grass in front of the main stage. It looked like every other Founders' Day celebration we'd attended over the years, except for the unusual number of people clustered around their phones, reading and commenting on social media. "Danny!" called out Mrs. Patterson, approaching us with the determined stride of a woman on a mission. "I'm so glad you're here. We need to talk." "About what, Mrs. Patterson?" "About that Morrison boy and what he's been doing to people in this town. I've been hearing stories all morning that would curl your hair." Emma and I exchanged glances. Mrs. Patterson was the town's unofficial information hub. If she was fired up about something, it would spread to everyone within hours. "What kind of stories?" "The Hendersons lost their deposit when a deal fell through, but Brent claimed it was non-refundable. The Johnsons discovered their home appraisal was inflated by $30,000 after they'd already signed the mortgage papers. And don't get me started on what happened to poor Susan Miller." "What happened to Susan Miller?" "Brent convinced her to sell her mother's house to a developer friend of his for below market value. Then the developer flipped it for twice what Susan got. She found out later that Brent got a kickback from both ends of the deal." I felt my anger building, but kept my voice neutral. "That's terrible. Have people reported these problems to anyone?" "Who would they report to? Brent's got connections at City Hall, and most folks don't know how to file complaints with the state. Plus, he's always careful to stay just barely on the legal side of things." "Just barely legal is still legal," Emma pointed out. "Maybe so, but it's not right. And now that people are finally talking about it openly, we're realizing just how many families he's hurt." Mrs. Patterson lowered her voice conspiratorially. "I heard Jennifer's been staying at the hotel with him. That true?" "You'd have to ask Jennifer about her living arrangements," I said carefully. Well, I always thought she was too good for small-town life. Guess she found someone who shares her ambitions." The comment stung because it echoed Jennifer's own words about needing more than our community could offer, but it also crystallized something important. Jennifer and Brent deserved each other. They were both willing to hurt other people in pursuit of their personal goals. "Mrs. Patterson, are you planning to attend Brent's speech this afternoon?" "Wouldn't miss it. I've got some questions I'd like to ask him about his business practices." "I'm sure he'd appreciate the opportunity to address community concerns." She cackled with glee. "Oh, I'm sure he would." As Mrs. Patterson moved on to spread her information to other festival goers, I noticed more people gathering in small groups, phones out, sharing stories and screenshots. The social media discussion was spilling over into real-world conversations. "Dad, look," Emma said, pointing toward the main stage. Jennifer had arrived, wearing a professional dress and her lawyer face. She was talking animatedly with the festival organizers, gesturing toward her law firm's banner and checking her watch repeatedly. Even from a distance, I could see the tension in her posture. "She looks stressed," Emma observed. "She should be." "Are you going to talk to her?" "If she wants to talk to me, she knows where to find me." We spent the next hour walking through the festival, listening to conversations and gauging the community's mood. The consensus was clear. People were angry about Brent's business practices and ready to hold him accountable. Several attendees mentioned planning to ask him direct questions during his speech. At 1:30, I positioned myself near the stage while Emma circulated through the crowd with her phone, ready to live stream whatever happened next. Jennifer spotted me and approached with determined steps. "Danny, we need to talk, now." "Hello, Jennifer. Nice day for a festival." "Don't play games with me. I know you're behind this social media campaign against Brent." "What social media campaign?" "The Facebook posts, the rumors, all of it. This has your fingerprints all over it." I looked around at the crowd of people discussing their experiences with Morrison Realty. "Jennifer, I think you're overestimating my influence. These are just people sharing their stories. Stories that mysteriously all surfaced in the past week. Maybe people needed permission to speak up. Sometimes it just takes one person being brave enough to go first." Jennifer's eyes narrowed. "Mrs. Patterson. Mrs. Patterson is a pillar of this community. If she has concerns about local business practices, people listen. You manipulated her. I had coffee with her Tuesday morning. We discussed various topics, including real estate. If that conversation inspired her to share her experiences publicly, well, that's her right as a citizen." Jennifer stared at me with a mixture of anger and grudging respect. "When did you become so calculating?" "About the time I realized my wife was having an affair and trying to make me think I was crazy for noticing." "Danny." "No, Jennifer. You made your choice. Now you get to live with the consequences. This isn't about me. This is about destroying an innocent man's reputation." "Innocent? Have you read the stories people are sharing? Those are just misunderstandings and miscommunications." 30+ misunderstandings? That seems like a pattern to me. Jennifer's phone buzzed and she checked it with growing alarm. "The newspaper reporter is here. She's asking questions about the state investigation." "What state investigation?" "Don't pretend you don't know." "Jennifer, I genuinely don't know what you're talking about." It was technically true. I didn't know the specific details of the state's investigation, even though I'd provided them with the initial information that triggered it. "Someone reported Brent to the Real Estate Commission. They're reviewing his license." "That's serious. What did they find?" "Nothing conclusive yet, but the timing is suspicious." "Suspicious how?" "It happened right after our separation became public knowledge." I shrugged. Maybe someone felt comfortable coming forward once they realized Brent didn't have protection from City Hall anymore. Jennifer's face went pale. "What do you mean, protection from City Hall?" "I mean, people talk, Jennifer. Everyone knows you've been using your connections to smooth things over for Brent when clients complained. Now that you're not together, officially, those connections don't work anymore." "We are together. We're just taking things slowly." "Are you?" "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're both dealing with the consequences of your choices independently." Before Jennifer could respond, the festival organizer approached with a clipboard and a stressed expression. "Mrs. Morrison, Mrs. Thompson, we need to discuss the afternoon program." Jennifer turned to him with forced professionalism. "What's the problem, Bill?" "Well, there's been some discussion in the community about Mr. Morrison's business practices. Several people have approached me asking if they'll have an opportunity to ask questions during his speech." "It's not a question and answer session. It's a presentation about economic development." "I understand, but given the current community concerns, it might be wise to allow some interaction with the audience." Jennifer looked trapped. Refusing to allow questions would make Brent look guilty, but allowing them would give his critics a public platform. "How many people are we talking about?" she asked. Bill glanced around the crowd nervously. "Maybe half the audience. There's been a lot of discussion on social media about real estate issues." "Fine. 10 minutes for questions after the speech." "Actually, Mrs. Thompson, I think we should probably extend that to 20 minutes. People have a lot of concerns they'd like to address. Jennifer looked at me with undisguised hatred. This is what you wanted, isn't it? A public humiliation. I wanted honesty, Jennifer. If honesty is humiliating for Brent, that's not my problem. She stalked away without another word, leaving me alone near the stage as the 2 p.m. hour approached. Emma appeared at my elbow with her phone ready to record. Dad, you need to see the crowd. There are at least 200 people here, and most of them look angry. I looked out at the assembled audience and felt a moment of doubt. This had started as a way to hold Brent accountable for his role in destroying my marriage. But it had grown into something much larger. An entire community was about to confront years of accumulated grievances in a very public forum. Emma, are you sure you want to be part of this? It's going to get ugly. Dad, these people deserve to have their voices heard. Brent's been taking advantage of them for years because he thought nobody would fight back. And now they are fighting back. Because you showed them how. The festival organizer stepped up to the microphone and began introducing Brent, who appeared from behind the stage looking confident but slightly nervous. Jennifer stood off to the side, her professional mask firmly in place. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Brent Morrison from Morrison Realty to discuss economic development opportunities in our community. Brent approached the microphone with his practiced salesman smile, apparently unaware that he was walking into an ambush of his own making. Thank you, Bill. It's great to see so many familiar faces here today. The crowd was politely quiet, but I could feel the tension building. Emma had her phone up, live streaming to her social media accounts. Other people were also recording, turning this into a community-wide documentation of whatever was about to happen. I want to talk to you today about the future of our town, Brent continued, about the opportunities we have to grow and prosper together. What about the opportunities you've had to cheat people? Called out a voice from the crowd. Brent's smile faltered slightly. I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Mrs. Patterson stood up in the front row. I said, what about the opportunities you've had to cheat people? Because that seems to be your specialty. The crowd murmured with approval. Brent looked toward Jennifer, who was frantically gesturing for him to stay calm. Mrs. Patterson, I think there might be some misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, young man. You cost the Henderson family their deposit money when that deal fell through. You told them it was non-refundable, but the contract said otherwise. Every real estate transaction involves some risk. Risk for your clients, profit for you, interrupted another voice. That's how it works, isn't it, Brent? More people began standing up, and I realized we'd reached a tipping point. This wasn't going to be a polite question and answer session. It was going to be a public reckoning. Brent tried to regain control. Ladies and gentlemen, I understand there may be some concerns about specific transactions, but this isn't the appropriate forum. When is the appropriate forum? Demanded Susan Miller, stepping forward. You've been dodging my calls for 3 months about my mother's house sale. Mrs. Miller, that transaction was completed according to the terms of the contract. The contract you wrote, the one that gave your developer friend a sweetheart deal while I got screwed. The crowd was getting louder and more agitated. Brent looked genuinely panicked now, his salesman confidence evaporating under the weight of community anger. I think we should end this presentation, Jennifer said, approaching the microphone. No way, called out someone from the back. We want answers. This is harassment, Jennifer announced. Mr. Morrison has a right to speak without being subjected to personal attacks. What about our right not to be cheated? Mrs. Patterson shot back. What about our right to know when someone's under investigation by the state? A collective gasp went through the crowd. Brent's face went white. That's confidential information, Jennifer said quickly. Not anymore, it isn't, called out Jessica Chen, the newspaper reporter, holding up her phone. The State Real Estate Commission confirmed this morning that Morrison Realty is under active investigation for multiple violations. The crowd erupted. People began shouting questions and accusations simultaneously, creating a chaos of voices that drowned out any attempt at response. Brent stood frozen at the microphone while Jennifer tried desperately to restore order. Emma grabbed my arm. "Dad, this is incredible. My livestream has over 500 viewers and climbing." I watched the scene unfold with mixed emotions. Part of me felt satisfied seeing Brent face consequences for his actions, but part of me felt sorry for him. He looked genuinely overwhelmed by the community's anger. "That's enough," Jennifer shouted into the microphone. "This is not how civilized people handle disagreements." "Civilized?" Mrs. Patterson laughed bitterly. "Was it civilized when your boyfriend stole money from hardworking families?" "He didn't steal anything. These are legitimate business disputes that should be handled through proper channels." "We tried proper channels," called out Tom Henderson. "Your law firm told us there was nothing we could do." Jennifer's face flushed red. "My firm provides legal advice based on the facts of each case." "Your firm protects your boyfriend's business interests," someone else shouted. "Everyone knows you've been covering for him." The personal attacks on Jennifer made me uncomfortable, even though I was angry with her. This was supposed to be about holding Brent accountable, not destroying her reputation. I stepped forward and raised my voice. "Hey, this isn't about Jennifer. She's not the one who took your money." The crowd quieted slightly, surprised by my intervention. "Danny's right," I continued. "Jennifer made mistakes in her personal life, but that doesn't make her responsible for Brent's business practices." Jennifer looked at me with surprise and something that might have been gratitude. "However," I added, "Brent Morrison has been taking advantage of this community for years, and it's time he answered for it." I turned to face Brent directly. "You want to talk about economic development? Let's talk about how you've developed your own bank account at the expense of your neighbors." Brent finally found his voice. "Danny, I understand you're angry about personal issues, but that doesn't give you the right to make false accusations." "False accusations?" 30-plus families have come forward with similar stories. The state is investigating your license. The newspaper is writing articles about your business practices. At what point do you stop calling it false accusations and start taking responsibility? "I've never done anything illegal." "Legal and ethical aren't the same thing, Brent. You've been hiding behind technicalities while hurting people who trusted you." The crowd murmured agreement. Brent looked around desperately, realizing he had no allies left. "This is a witch hunt," he said weakly. "No," I replied. "This is accountability. Something you've been avoiding for a long time." Brent pulled out his phone and started walking away from the stage. "I don't have to listen to this." "Actually, you do," called out Jessica Chen. "Mr. Morrison, do you have any comment on the state investigation? Will you be surrendering your real estate license?" "No comment," Brent muttered, pushing through the crowd toward the parking area. The audience began to disperse, people clustering in small groups to continue their discussions. Emma was still live streaming, providing commentary on what had just happened. Jennifer approached me as the crowd thinned out. "That was well done," she said quietly. "What was?" "Defending me when things got personal. You didn't have to do that. You're still Emma's mother, and despite everything, you're not a bad person, just someone who made bad choices." Jennifer nodded, looking genuinely remorseful for the first time since this whole situation began. "Danny, I'm sorry. About all of it. You deserved better." "Yeah, I did. But that's in the past now. What happens next?" "Next, you figure out your life without Brent propping up your decisions, and I figure out mine without you. Are you going to be okay?" I looked around at the festival, at the community that had just demonstrated they were willing to stand up for what was right, at Emma, who was proudly documenting our victory, at the life I'd built in this small town that Jennifer had found too limiting. "Yeah," I said. "I think I'm going to be just fine." Jennifer walked away without another word, leaving me alone with Emma and the satisfaction of a job well done. "Dad," Emma said, ending her live stream, "that was amazing. You totally destroyed him without being mean about it. The truth destroyed him. I just made sure people heard it. What do you think will happen to him now? I think Brent Morrison's days of taking advantage of this community are over, and I think your mother is about to learn what it's like to be with someone who's lost everything. Do you feel bad for her? I considered the question seriously. I feel bad that she threw away something real for something that turned out to be fake. But that was her choice to make. And now she has to live with it. Now she has to live with it. Emma and I walked back through the festival, accepting congratulations from people who thanked us for finally holding Brent accountable. It felt good to be part of a community again instead of just someone who lived in it. As we reached our truck, I realized something important had changed. For months, I'd felt like a victim of other people's choices, Jennifer's affair, Emma's betrayal, Brent's arrogance. But today, I'd remembered what it felt like to have agency in my own life. Jennifer was right about one thing. I had been too comfortable, too willing to let other people make decisions that affected me. But she was wrong about the solution. I didn't need to become someone else or move somewhere else. I just needed to remember who I was and start acting like it again. "Dad?" Emma said as we drove home. "Yeah? I'm proud to be your daughter." "Thanks, sweetheart. I'm proud to be your father. What are we going to do now?" "Now we go home and figure out what comes next, together." Together sounds good. As we pulled into our driveway, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months, genuine optimism about the future. Jennifer and Brent had gotten exactly what they deserved, and Emma and I had gotten something even better. We'd gotten each other back. The house looked the same as always, but somehow it felt different, like a place where people lived instead of just existed. Like a home instead of just a building. "Emma, want to help me fix that loose gutter this weekend?" "Sure, Dad. It'll be nice to work on something we can actually repair." I laughed, understanding exactly what she meant. Some things were worth fixing, and some things were better left broken. We'd learned the difference.